All right, welcome Ben to the show today. Ben, I'm very grateful you're here. We've had the chance to work together for about 12 months now, and in that time we've added 46 grand to your business and new business, which is awesome. But I'm really excited to jump in today to hear more about your offer, sales process, and what you're doing to get more clients. And I know we'll probably hit on this too, is what you do to keep clients. Because out of all the clients that I've worked with so far, I think your retention rate is probably the highest. We can kind of get into some numbers as we get going. But you've actually hosted a masterclass for us internally for our clients around that. So I want to definitely hit on a lot of that today. But yeah, man, thanks for taking 30 minutes to an hour out of your day to be here with us.
Absolutely, I'm psyched. It's been a ton of fun working with you and being in the program. So any way I can give back in a little way, happy to.
Appreciate it, man. Well, let's start off by just sharing more about who you serve. So I'd like to hear right now. I know we kind of worked on that a lot in our time together. So majority of people you serve or people that you're wanting to serve, like what does that look like right now?
Yeah, it's funny because we did a lot of work on this towards the beginning and almost came full circle in a way where it's like I did a lot trying to get more specific, and I think I landed on like a good comfortable middle ground where it's like I definitely have who I'm shooting for, but I also have brought in like a lot of my history because like I'm sure we'll get into it, but like I've been doing online training, health coaching work for like 10 years now. So I've been in the game a while, and my latest like message and what I'm trying to put out there is that I simplify fitness. And I particularly try and work with people that are overwhelmed, frustrated, run down, tired of all the misinformation on the internet. So I really try to tap into that. And yeah, I do. Depending on who I'm talking to, I kind of tweak the terminology a little bit, but it's online training and health coaching.
Gotcha. Are you doing both? You might have said this training and nutrition, or are you completely just sticking in training?
Yeah, so like I use the kind of the broad terms, but then like I always do address the nutrition aspect as well. So like for the longest time I just called myself an online trainer when that was like not a very well known thing. And like since everyone's kind of knows this now, it's like since COVID, like online stuff is far more understandable and in the mainstream. So yeah, now it's like a combination, kind of like a holistic approach, really, just between fitness stuff with nutrition and training, and then some more of the health aspects. Like I like to address like mental health and habits and stuff like that. So it's kind of rolled into one.
Gotcha. When did you first start your coaching business?
I started in 2014, so it's legit been 10 years now, which is nuts.
Dude, that's impressive. I started in 2015, so you beat me.
I got to beat, yeah.
I'm so curious on you've stuck through, and I think that I want to just commend you on that because I know so many coaches that will start it and they'll give it 2 3 years, and if they don't get the traction, they get so discouraged they'll go back to corporate. So or whatever they do next. So I'm curious, have you in that decade of doing this experienced any of those feelings or thoughts, and if so, what's kept you in it?
Oh yeah. First, oh yeah. I mean, a lot. Like people will ask me that, and it's easy to say now, like, oh yeah, 10 years I've been sticking it out, been sticking it out. But there's definitely a lot of lulls where I've always relied on loving working for myself, number one. Having that freedom and control is just huge for me. So even at a time in my life when I was a little bit younger and, I didn't need to make as much money at the time. So I didn't have as much pressure on myself, right? Like nowadays, fast forward, I have a wife, I have a child, more responsibilities, more bills, right? So that's kind of one reason why I got in the program and wanted to up my game. But I guess one other thing I mentioned with that too is like I did in-person training alongside like the online coaching for a long time, kind of like 2012 to 2016 thereabouts. So that was like also like a nice segue where I had something else, right? Because it's like I always thought, all right, if the online doesn't really take off or if it's not quite paying the bills, like I got my face to face, training at the gym. I could always ramp that back up. So it's like that fail safe almost, which I kind of encourage people to have maybe in some aspect. It doesn't have to be like a full time job, but just like a side gig. Because it really, I kind of had that two piece, and then over time, it's just like the one grew and the one shrunk until it was fully online.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. I was treating as a physical therapist as I was building my online stuff, and I had split schedules. But there's no, I know some people are always for like, burn the boat or whatever, bridge, and just go all in. That creates so much stress for me. I'm like, bro, not gonna do that. Like, I get it. Like some people that works well for, but like for myself, I'm not super risk tolerant. Like, I kind of am, I guess, in the middle. Like I do make risks or investments if I see that there's a, if I see that I'm in control of seeing this through on the outside, on the other side, but that's still so tough. So I agree with you, and I relate a lot to that. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's same thought. Like a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, like when I was looking for coaching and exploring that, a lot of it is like, yeah, quit, go all in, or like work your 40 hours and then like do it at night, like 80-hour weeks, let's go. I don't know, that I'm sure that works for some people maybe, but like I like to sleep. I like a little more balance in my life. So I'm a big proponent of just like following kind of a passion, following building your own thing, and just like having that fit in kind of with what else you're doing. Because then you get the security, but have something to shoot for. Right. And that's like, then maybe you don't have the same up and down like emotions with it. You can just really focus on growing like steadily.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're right on that.
Yeah.
Now, here. So we kind of talked about who you serve, right? It's more like simplifying fitness, making it simple, and it's also incorporating more habits into it as well as mindset, nutrition. So you kind of have the full holistic package. Now, like how long do you work with people? 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and typically, how do you price that?
Yeah. So my package that is now my essentially solar high ticket package I worked on with you is ask for a 3 month commitment, and I'll typically start that at 1,500. So $1,500 for kind of like the standard, if you will. If on the coaching, or rather on the like sales call, if I find out that the person needs more support or a greater degree of support, like especially if it gets in like phone calls and stuff like that do take my time, that number will go up. But 1,500 for 3 months is what I'm essentially like trying to get to each call. And really, like that's like you mentioned off the top, like one thing that I've really had a lot of pride in and it's helped me get here and been able to fumble through a lot of the business stuff is that my retention is so good that with these people that I'm bringing in, like in the year that I've been working with you, I've probably retained like 85% of everyone that's come in at that price point, like from day one. So like at that point it becomes easy because then it's like those people renew with me at 500 a month at least, right? And that just becomes like autopilot income for me. And the clients are easier, so to speak, to work with, right? Because we're already pretty set in like what we're doing. Just a lot of like accountability, touching base, new workouts, stuff like that. But becomes a lot easier than you have to resell. So that's been huge for me. And so overall, like, and I don't even have like great numbers for you because I've been doing this so long and not knowing the business side that I was just like, oh, cool. Like people stay with me. Cool. Like I never tracked it. So I have this stuff like in notebooks and like in documents, and I need to go through and find out like my all time like retention like numbers metrics. But I have people, and I dropped some numbers like when I did the master class. I just did like my numbers, updated some stuff today. I have online clients that I've had for 6, 7, 8 years. Like just like that's unheard of. Like for a lot of people that start and they like don't. That's like unfathomable, but it's totally possible if you just form the right relationship and you give ongoing help. Because like those people, even though they came in at lower price points, have brought me $12,000-$15,000 like
Oh,
lifetime easily. You know what I mean? So and that stuff adds up. So that's like really been my like rock throughout this whole process.
yeah, dude, it makes it so much easier, and we're actually doing that as well. Like when I first launched our accelerator program, it was it's not lower ticket, but it was a 5K commitment for a year, and then after that, our renewal rate was like very low. It was like a couple $100 a month. And we didn't really do resigns. And what I found when I was doing that model long term is that I always had to play super aggressive with marketing and sales. And I just had to keep pumping more and more and more money and more time creating videos. And in the last probably 3 months, one of our biggest core focuses is like, how can we provide even more value to the people that we've already worked with? That has transformed our business, but also like it has transformed my stress levels from like from up here being like more, more, more. And
Yeah.
now it's like, all right, cool, y'all. All we need right now, I ran the numbers. We just need 5 new clients a month to be profitable, assuming that we re-sign clients. Where it used to be, I had to make 12 sales a month minimum to break even. And that put a lot of stress on things. Like that 12 is not a lot, but like if the average, let's just put numbers behind this. If the average for me, my acquisition cost could be anywhere from $1,000, like 1,000 to 2,500. I have a higher ticket product, but that's $10,000 to $20,000 a month of advertising I have to spend just to break even.
Yeah.
And I mean, for health coaches, it's nowhere near that. Like your acquisition cost is going to be closer to $250 to $500. But still, like if you have to keep feeding a machine because it's not very efficient, it's very exhausting, and you're going to want to quit sooner or like just jump out because of that. So I want to just commend you on that. Like to have a lifetime value of a customer that's like $12,000, $15,000 and you're continuing to re-sign them at such a high rate. Like it's not easy to do, but it's also showing that you're like over delivering on your front end offer. And I want to hit on that and kind of ask you some more questions because I know, there's probably people watching this. He charges $500 a month, because I imagine you didn't charge that when you started. So I'd like to hear what you charged and like how and what you overcame to start being able to be like, yeah, it's $500 a month and 3-month commitment, $1,500, essentially to work with me to start. So kind of walk me through that progression for you to get comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm like smirking because this has been such a story. So first of all, this will be funny for the watchers, hopefully. In 2011, while I was an undergrad, I was doing online training for $30 a month. And I was like, oh man, someone's paying me money, like $30 a month just to send workouts. And I thought it was like sick, right? Because like I was like, oh, I don't have to wash dishes, like I can do something. So it's hilarious because like $30 a month, like you can barely get like a Hulu subscription anymore. So that doubled to 60, and then it jumped up to 180 like when I first started, $180 a month. And I rationalized that or came up with that number because I was doing like $45 sessions with in-person clients, and it just like made sense. I was like, okay, once a week, 4 weeks in a month. So I did 180 for the longest time. And again, that was a long time ago. It doubled because my wife, now wife, love her. She's like, you should be charging way more. Like that's nothing. So she encouraged me to double it. And this was in like 2018, like not too long before COVID. It might have been 2019. I was like, you're crazy. Like no one's going to pay me that. No one's going to pay me that. But she was right. It actually helped because like you start getting hired, and this, the theme goes on, right? Like you kind of weed out a lot of people that aren't as motivated for anything you're selling, right? When it's a lower price. So like the jump to 360, what do you know? People were more motivated, actually had better clients. They got better results. And I was at 360 for then quite a while, from like 2019 until I met you. And COVID, it's hard to not mention, right? Like with the explosion of all these people looking for online support, they were just like falling into my lap almost at that price point. And I was just comfortable with it. And I felt like it was cool. And people seemed to stay with me, right? Because I'm just looking at my numbers and like, well, people stay with me for 360 a month. Like because I'm not like a business savvy guy by nature, instead of thinking like, oh, I'll charge more, I was just like, oh, cool, I'm good, right? So I just stayed there, and I was just so focused on having my process be killer and keep people forever that I got really good at what I do. But then as things became more expensive, and like I said, you get married, have bills, like it was time for me to up it. And when I met you and arrived at that like higher price point, it was freaky because just like the last time, right? Just like it's all relative. Like going from 360 to 500 a month, essentially, it's like, I don't know, man. Like that's starting to feel like I don't know if I can deliver on that. Like who's going to stay at that? Because my thought was, okay, if I follow the process, I do the scripts, I do everything that like you're coaching, I'm confident I can get people to work with me at that price, right? I know I have a good product, but I didn't think they would maybe stay with me at that price because I was just like, that's a lot to deliver on consistently. But again, what I've found so far is like, if you can afford it, you're going to keep affording it. You're going to keep, as long as I'm doing a good job helping people justify the cost, which apparently I am, they're going to stay. So quite the history there.
Yeah. Well, tell me more about the process, because you're just the confidence you even display as talking about it. You can see that it's high. So what's the secret? What's your secret sauce? Like Well, I guess, or maybe what makes you different than some of the other coaches that you've networked with, you've talked to? Like, why do you think that you're able to retain these people? Is it because you have nice, luscious, long hair?
Oh, please. No, I'm starting to get gray hairs, by the way. It's freaking me out because I got a 1 year old at home. But no, I guess this will be maybe interesting for some people that are in my space because I did consulting work for some of the early startup, like one to many online training programs. I won't mention them, but people know who they are. There's a bunch of them now. And what I saw through that and like mentoring new trainers was just the overall quality as far as like what they would do for people, like the true customization of workouts, not just like drag and drop from a list of like 30 exercises, but like curating YouTube, the best YouTube videos, shooting my own videos. Again, approaching it holistically instead of just like, oh, hey man, it's Monday, let's get after it. Like I'm getting more personal. I like to get personal with clients. I like to feel like we're friends. Like I like to ask about their weekend, what's going on, their partners, their hobbies. I like to incorporate things that they do like, enjoy doing for their workouts. So I ask a lot. I was like, hey, we have room for preference. Like, what do you like? Like, what do you like? What have you liked from this last program? So my workouts and my programs always seem to get better and more enjoyable, which means adherence improves because people actually like doing them. And then again, it's like you put your therapist hat on sometimes, and like I just help people kind of stay centered, and I kind of use the science and the data aspect to like show them that they're on the right track, and if they're not, I like to prove why they're not, so they truly have a good understanding of their own effort. Because at the end of the day, like you want to get a return on your time and effort, right? So as long as people feel like they're getting an understandable return or they know at least why they're not, that's just super high value. So I guess, in summary, it's just like it's a lot of things. But a lot of these one to many programs are just very chintzy. Like they're just like, hey, how's it going? Cool. Like they don't really care about the answer. They don't really try to connect and they don't really go into the level of detail that is necessary to like transform somebody because it takes detail.
Right, right. Versus just like, I mean, yeah. And I've noticed that too, even in the business coaching consulting space. Yeah, it looks good. Keep going. It's like,
And like, okay,
did I pay you for anything? You know what I mean? So it's like, no, I want, so I like what I heard out of that was like really actually customizing workouts, not just drag and dropping things or like, moving things around. And then genuinely, listening and communicating with your clients, not just having like, I mean, you might probably use automations and stuff for check-ins and stuff like that, but there's still like a level of like, I actually read this and I have more questions for you to keep the conversation going outside of just like a formal, check in, check out type system.
yeah, absolutely. And one thing that you did for me or do for me rather is like that's been super helpful and illustrates this point. Like if I'm asking a question about whatever, right, like something I'm going through in like the course, like you'll send me like a Loom video back, which I remember the first time I got that, I was like, oh, like, what is this? Something like pre-recorded he sent? Like, oh, it's cool. It's a resource. And then I watched it and you're like, hey, what's up, man? And you were somewhere doing something and you just like, you walked through it and like did the clicks on the screen. Loom's awesome, by the way, for the people that don't know about it. But like, that was huge for me because I'm good at following structure and like watching things and all that. But like, when I get stuck, I get stuck. And like, I kind of almost need that like true coaching and kind of like some of the emotional navigation and stuff to help me get through things. So that was huge for me. And I kind of borrowed that. I won't say stole. I borrowed that from you in a sense because now like when I send my like weekly check-ins to clients, or I should say weekly like wrap-ups, because I do like weekly summaries, like here's how things are going, I'll follow it up with just a voice message, just something super simple, but like that's super high value.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like the metrics we pulled from when I was doing the consulting work with those companies is like doing video or audio, it is massive value added versus just text. And that's something that does like people do perceive super high value and keeps them around longer.
Which is cool too, because if you look at the total amount of time that it takes you to send a video versus typing, sometimes you can send a video faster, right? As long as you're like next to a camera. If you're next to a camera, you can use, I use actually Loom on my phone. I don't know if you do this for voice memos. I think you might use it use Trainerize.
Yeah, it's inside Trainerize.
They have Trainerize inside there, but we use School for our platform, but you can still go on Loom, right? And have it on your phone. And there's a setting on your phone where you can just do audio. So sometimes if I'm out and about, I'll just hit the Loom record button and still send it inside of school or in an email, and they can hear me. Also cool with Loom is they can get this transcript. So if I send it out, or if one of my team members or one of my clients sends me a Loom and I'm in an airport and I can't play it, I can still read the transcripts, and that works so well for me. So it's like I encourage a lot of our clients to do it too, because it's faster than like sitting down and typing. Because like typing like is really like I'm going to summarize all my thoughts
Yeah.
and send it to you. But like Loom, I could just tell you all my thoughts out loud, and then at the end of the Loom video, I can summarize what I said in the beginning.
Oh
Now
yeah.
just like a quick word of caution for people to do this. I've coached a lot of coaches, and when you get started with it, sometimes you'll just push record and you'll send a 10-minute Loom video. I'm like, bro, you made it more confusing for that person. You know what I mean? Like they now have to go through and they have to condense the 10 minutes of information into what am I supposed to do? So like send Loom videos, but
This week.
send them after you've read it or after you've already formulated what I'm going to tell this person. Because I've had to give my coaches feedback when they give their clients, I'm like, this is too long. Yes, give them all that they need, but you should not send a 5-minute Loom video, because then what's going to happen is
I'll watch
they
it later.
might think, cool, yeah, I'll let you, or they're like, oh, cool, I can send one back. And now
Oh
you're
yeah,
going to get a
yeah.
10-minute Loom video back, and you're going to be like, damn, I shouldn't have opened that. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, oh, totally. I think about like that's the kind of stuff I think about all the time. And that's yeah, for my process now, like when I do my recap days, I'll take 30 seconds just real quick in my head. I'm like, all right, go. Like I'm gonna say this, this, and this basically, right? Record. And then I'm watching the little timer and like I try to keep it under 2 minutes. If it goes to like 3 or 4, if something's like really, I don't know, like tapping into emotion or something, that's fine. But like, yeah, 10 minutes is way too long. And that seems to be like a huge value add because myself and I've seen with other coaches too, like in an effort to be like kind of perfectionist with this stuff and like craft the perfect replies with like bullet points and like I'm offering value. That slows you down so much, right? Like you're over structuring something that someone's just gonna like read while they're like on the subway or like going to work, like doing whatever. And like we're like wasting our time by doing that. So yeah, if you can knock it out in a quick bit, it's good for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. I like that. All right, let's transition now. I want to talk more about like what you're doing to grow your business now, and just kind of cover like what your strategy is now, and then after that, we can kind of cover like the direction that you're taking now, and like what your next, your set is for the next like 3 to 6 months. So yeah, tell me your marketing strategy now. Like how are you attracting new business?
Yeah, so for new business right now, I'm keeping it pretty simple because as you know, I got to a point where I'm comfortable or fairly comfortable with my client load. And at this point, like I'm considering like raising prices or just making sure that I get really high quality. So I'm running an Instagram follower funnel, which I got from the program. And for people who haven't seen your content yet, like I think it's awesome. It's like the best way for me, or the easiest way I've ever seen to like get strangers to become clients or become leads. So I'll boost posts that have already done well or seem to do well on my Instagram for not that much either. Like some people think, oh, like I don't have a budget for ads. Like we're talking 10, 20, $30 a day, and like you'll help me scale that up or whatever. And then I'm getting 20 to 40 leads a day, or new followers that are like solid people, not like spammy stuff, like solid people that come in. I'll have my appointment setter or my messenger message them or do the initial messages using my script. So I'm hands off with that until it becomes a call. I take all my calls. So once like my messenger sets up a 15-minute call, I'll take that. And then if someone seems like a good fit, I'll move them to a longer sales call over Zoom. And that's been working really well. Like I pulled up a couple of numbers like just for this recording, and like I've spent $2,000 on this like lifetime basically over the year, and I've contracted almost $7,000.
Yeah.
So it's like when I look at that, I'm like, I gotta do more of this, because it's like it's stressful during it because like you run it and you put in $10 or $20 and then you look at it every day and it's like, okay, nothing's happening, nothing, like I'm getting followers but like there's no sales yet, right? So I'm like watching the money disappear and it's like 4 or 5 days, but then you hit on one, right? That becomes like the perfect client. And like, boom, well, all of a sudden, like that whole month's worth of spend is not only gone, but I'm in the plus. So I feel like I'm at this point now where I can just like turn this thing on or off. Like when my messenger goes on like she was on maternity leave, or not maternity leave, but like she had a baby. So I like, hey, go have a baby. Like I don't need you to do this for me. And while she was gone for 2 weeks, I just turned the switch off and like followed up on the messages and still like got a client or two out of that. So anyways, the follower funnel through Instagram is the biggest thing for me right now. Other than that, like you've been helping me with different types of ads. So like I was running like messenger ads to go straight to conversations through like Meta platform. And I have a traditional sales funnel with a video sales letter that I have kind of like in waiting, because again, like I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm at and I'm trying to almost like decide like what's next for me. But knowing I have those is like huge, because again, like they're already in place. It's just a matter of like, when in my strategic planning, it's like, when do I turn them on? It's like I got to be kind of ready for that, and then I can just turn them on.
Yeah, I love that. And because we worked together for a year and we tried a couple different funnels. And like that was the follower funnel was one that we found that was the best for you. Like we tried the messenger ads, we tried ads directly to the VSL. The thing is that like there's not like one set approach for everybody. And I feel like anyone selling that is just, it's kind of a cookie cutter thing, So like for you, we had to test all of them and see, what was our best thing for us to get good call costs and good return on ad spend. And that, like the follower funnel for you has crushed it, And we have had some clients who we tried that same strategy with and they don't do as well. So then we switch them over to Messenger and all of a sudden that knocks it out of the park. And sometimes we need to do all three. Like we have to test all three before we find the one that brings in the most, like not even just the best lead, the best price, but also the one that can help the business owner the most, the long term. Because like there's pros and cons to all of them. So like the follower funnel, it's very manual, right? You got to message all of them. You typically at scale want to have an appointment setter, which you have, which is great. You got to train somebody, So it's been really cool to see you use that and test all three and figure out, all right, cool. The easy one is actually the one that works best for me. And if you spent $2,000 and contracted 7, you've contracted 7 on the front end. If your retention is as good as what you just said, like
exactly.
If one of these clients turns into a 10K client, you 5X just on one client. You know what I mean? So like, I'm excited to see as you service these clients to see if this that 2K is actually closer to like 10 to 15K. You know what I mean? Which I imagine it probably will be on the lifetime value of a handful of them, not all of them, right? Some will just drop off, but with some of them it will.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet for anyone that's like watching, trying to grasp this, because it was hard for me too, like for a long time, it's like that's 2,000 spend, 7 contracted is like counts a few of the people that have renewed already, right? So it's like I'm looking at my snapshot of like this type of ad overall. So yeah, like I always go in every month and like update that, because that's the weird, like we're always tracking our like what's contracted up front initially, but it's like that's not where it ends, or that's not how I think. It's like this is only the beginning. This is the absolute low point, or not low point. This is the lowest amount of that I will make on this lead or this sale. But I always have that hope or confidence rather, that it's gonna go up. So it's like the ad looks better and better, like the ad sheet on my tracking sheet, like when I go in a lot of times, which is cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And most people don't track that stuff, And I think if you really want to be in business like long term, just kind of like fitness, right? Like you give your client macros, you track you might track their steps, you might not, but you track their body weight. You may or may not track the amount of working sets they do. Like everyone kind of tracks different things, but the more we can track, the better we can understand and coach our clients. And the same goes for you and your business. Like if I have metrics that I'm tracking every single week and some I'm tracking every day, it's going to give me a much better snapshot of, am I actually making progress or do I need to change things? But it sounds like where you're at right now, which I love, you kind of hit it, you said it earlier, is like you're in a good place where you're at client wise, where you're like, you don't need more clients. Your retention rate's so good, you can service the same clients and make 6 figures a year with just servicing those clients. And if you have, 2 or 3 that drop off, you could turn the ads back on, get another 2 to 3, and then either coast, or I know we've talked a little bit about like introducing maybe a lower ticket offer because you didn't really want to hire an assistant coach, which that's what one way to scale is like, cool, I'm going to hire a team. But from our conversations, you're like, man, I really like being a solo plus messenger and some VAs, but like being the main support person. So share more.
You nailed it. Yeah, I mean, you know me well enough. It's like obviously like both ways can work. I mean, you've crushed it with having a team, and as cool as that is to like see the content on how to go about that, it's almost like I'm going back to like within myself, and I'm thinking over time and how much I truly like working alone, not having to worry about other people, right? So it's kind of a choice I've made. I mean, right, it comes with its own host of things. So sure, I could probably scale higher, maybe faster if I did that. I don't know, but right now I just love what I'm doing. I'm at this weird, it's almost a weird feeling that like here's something that for people maybe watching, it's like they can kind of shoot for. It's like, hey, there will be a day when you get to the point where like you're like, oh, like it worked. I feel like I'm just now at that point, even though it's like hard, like strange to say, like 10 years in. I feel like I'm just at that point where I like stopped having this like everyday motor of like, okay, what do I got to do? I got to follow up. I got to do this. I got to learn something new. And I was just like, okay, like I'm kind of at this like point where it's like I got the clients that I like serving. I don't necessarily want to spend more time making workouts and messaging people. I love doing it, but I don't want to do it for even more hours a day. Like I'd rather play with my son at 3 o'clock, right? So now it like frees up this mind space in like a weird way where I'm like sitting back almost like not trying super hard because I'm thinking what's next, and it's cool and like it's just different, right? Because it's like if you're so focused on growing and like getting your first clients and like getting a sustainable income, that's your entire capacity, like mentally. And like now I feel like I'm at a point where I can look into course creation or like a one to many or like a lower ticket program or something else to kind of like take me to the next level. And I can always charge more too, which is like, we've talked about. It's like, if you watch the earlier part of the video, if you're not just tuning in, like I started by charging $30 a month and like now I'm at 500. Like who's to say that like, as things grow and like hopefully like my, what's the word, like online as far as like credibility, right? Like as that grows too, like I can be more selective. I can truly only take the people that can afford what I'm looking to charge. So yeah,
Yeah.
what's next has been my question. I guess I've been asking myself lately.
Yeah, man. I mean, it feels good because like I've achieved that too, to where it's like, you don't have to grow anymore unless you want to. And then like as you're saying that, it's refreshing for me too, because like this current offer we have is not 10 years old. It's newer than that. So like I see where you're at. I'm like, oh man, there's parts of that I aspire to hit at a certain way, like the mental, emotional side of things. And also I have a team. So there's a pressure for the offer. The style I have is like to always support the team. So if it's a little bit lower, I know I'm big and taken care of. Like I don't have to worry about money necessarily, but then what about the other team? So there definitely are these pros and cons to both models. And I really like how you kind of center yourself and kind of go within to figure out, is this actually a model I want to do? And I share that because my girlfriend she joined a mastermind program and went through that whole route, started building a team, and she hated it. She hated it. She hated all the stuff, and she's like, I just want to be a coach. So she went, and before she made a change, she had like 10 clients, and her assistant coach had 90 clients, and she was just doing marketing and sales. And she's like, I miss coaching. So she ended up letting that coach go, and she took on like a roster size of like 40. And now she does have one other assistant coach, but she has like 20 clients. And she's like, loves her life like so much more. She makes actually more money because she's not putting more money towards marketing, sales, and like all of that. Like she's just like works with those 30, 40 clients and she takes all of it home.
Yeah.
And she's so much more fulfilled. So just want to like kind of bring that around of like, I really like how you approach that and kind of look at how is this going to affect my life, because adding a team can create more time freedom, but it also creates a different level of stress that feels novel for people who haven't experienced it.
Yeah. Teach their own. I like what I've done. And I think I've told you like this number before, and I would encourage anyone that's kind of starting out to like track the difference. Like my actual work time, like when I'm delivering on my clients, making workouts, talking back and forth, grabbing them protein powder links, whatever, is like 15 hours a week ish. Sometimes it's less. Like if I work a 40-hour week, the rest of that is time I'm like learning new stuff and trying to grow, like watching your content, like whatever, like all that stuff that I feel like goes into the bucket of like growth and effort and like what's next. Like when you boil that down, like that's not a whole lot of like work time. Like a lot of people would like, right? Like you track stuff and like you're about numbers, and like that's the true beauty is like if I decide that I want to go on a vacation, because sometimes people say like, right, oh, like you work for yourself, like so you can never go on vacation. Like, well, no, like I just tell my clients, hey, like because when you have select group that like love you, I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna go on vacation. I'm so like, dude, go. Like I don't want to hear from you next week. That's what they usually tell me anyway. and I just, I program a double workout for the next week, and I just whatever. It's easy, right? So like I know that like if I ever burn out, like honestly, like getting like into some of the depths of like the coursework, like I was starting to burn out a little bit because I was just trying to go really fast.
Yeah.
And I had to catch myself. I'm like, dude, like that's not going anywhere. Like your login's not going anywhere. If you just take a breath, like I took like a vacation week, like a staycation week where I just didn't do all the extra and I could sustain everything working. I had to work like 10 hours that whole week and nothing changed. Nothing changed at all. Like things actually still move forward a little bit because I have my messenger going. So for the people that I know, 'cause sometimes early on it feels like, oh, I got to grind forever every day forever. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah. No, you don't. And even if you do, like because I still I go on a lot of trips. I travel a lot more than sometimes I'd like to. But even as I travel, like same for us too. Is like typically it's around for myself 10 to 15 hours a week of fulfillment, and then a lot of the other tribe is leading a team and then making content and stuff like that. But I could knock out like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours work in the morning, first thing when I'm traveling. If I wanted to work, right? Like one, I could just take off, but then also the work that we do, I could wake up at 6 a.m. and work from 6 until 8 or 6 until 9. And then when everybody else is awake, I can shut my laptop, I can have breakfast and then enjoy the full day, which
Yep.
is like is a dream. So like I love that. I love to always kind of work because it stimulates me, but I don't have to have full days to do it. And that feels so good, you know?
Dude, absolutely. Yeah. Like laying on a beach chair on your phone, like on Trainerize, like checking with clients is not that bad. So it's like,
No.
if
Yeah.
I'm doing that, like while the sun's coming up and then like I turn my phone off at like 9 o'clock. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the people that do like to travel. And like, again, like I've been a client of yours. Like when you're going somewhere, I'm just like, dude, that's awesome. Like good for you. Like go, because like I mean, on top of everything, like I always feel supported. So then like, that's another thing we worry, right? That like your clients are going to leave because like you
Oh,
decided to
very
like
good.
go on a trip. It's like, no, like they're probably going to probably be thankful that you're not going to be checking in 4 times next week. So yeah, it's funny, but I agree.
Yeah. I love that, man. All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
So I was gonna launch my website right off the bat, but like I got some like my high school hockey players I coached are making fun of me because no one has a website anymore. I don't know. BenPalaccofitness.com. If you're old enough to know what websites are and use them. My main source is Instagram. So Instagram slash or .com slash Ben Palocko. You might have to help with the spelling. Look down there. And then, I have TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and stuff, but it's like very much a later thing, right? It's kind of like I repurpose content. But yeah, Instagram, if you want to hit me up, confirm anything that you heard today, feel free. Yeah, hit me up on Instagram or my website.
Cool. Well, Ben, dude, it's been fun. Thanks for
Heck yeah.
joining and chatting. I learned some stuff from this too, so thank you. And yeah, man, we'll have to have you on again in the future.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'll try to get a lot cooler. So you want me to come back like
Cooler.
the next level
Dude.
interview, next level interview.
Oh, cool. I love
All right.
it. That's a
Thanks,
good goal.
coach.
All right, man. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.